Good morning, fellow travelers. We are this morning in Bongrain Point in our second day of Antarctica on the Seabourn Venture. So stay tuned to see what we find today.
Well, overnight we moved the Seabourn Venture about 70 nautical miles to Bongrain Point on Pourquois Pas Island. And as you see, we've got a couple things. We're going to land this morning, and we've moved up to the middle group, as well as we'll have a Zodiac tour a little bit later in the day. So a little bit of time to grab coffee and croissant before it's our turn to head down to the landing zone. A little bumpy today. This is Antarctica right here. So there's a few more bumps, few more waves, a little bit of ice. We're probably still going to be okay. That is, unless my sister falls flat on her face on our way into the Zodiac this morning. So during this leg of our expedition, the Seabourn Venture is following some of the same route as was followed by Jean-Baptiste Charcot in his ship, the Pourquois Pas. Now, Pourquoi Pas is French for why not. Not sure why anybody would volunteer to get on a ship going to Antarctica called the Why Not, but there they were. Charcot's expedition was from 1908 to 1910, and largely was given credit for discovering the area of Marguerite Bay, where we've been for the last 2 days. Now, a little bit about Charcot. He was not only an explorer, but was a medical doctor and scientist, a French rugby champion, and won medals for sailing in the Olympics. The Australian polar explorer John Rimmel formally named the island Pourquoi Pas for Charcot's boat in the 1930s during an expedition to more thoroughly map the coastline of the island and Marguerite Bay. Well, for us, we had a different challenge in front of us, which is finding our way to shore through all these small icebergs, which had sort of clogged up our route to the beach as the tide had shifted a little bit between the first groups and the second groups. But the great thing about these expert expedition drivers is they always tend to find a way for us. Good morning. We were out on the ice, and in this case, we're at Bongrain Point. It's the first time a Seabourn crew has ever landed at this spot. So yesterday we were at the farthest south point that you can go as a tourist ship, and today we're at a whole new site for the cruise line, and it's just spectacular setting with the penguin colonies and the mountains around us. So maybe technically standing on ice was the wrong terminology. What we did see at this location was quite a bit of plant life for Antarctica. There was a small patch of Antarctic grass, as well as multiple kinds of lichens and mosses that were all around on this rocky beach. There's also the remnants of a small penguin highway that ran along the beach that was being used here by a fishing party on its return to the colony. An interesting observation as we watched penguins come and go from the colony to go fishing and then to come back from the hunt is that the penguins on their way in tend to take a little more time to themselves on their way in. So they'll do things like roll in the snow, eat a little bit of snow, just stand and rest. Sometimes they'll even catch a quick nap when they can. On the other hand, when they're hungry, they hustle down that rocky beach. Another endearing behavior of these Adélie penguins is they'll all stand together, just daring each other to be the first one to jump into that water. Now, the beach at Bongrain Point not only had 2 small penguin colonies, but it also was a nesting ground for skuas. Now, skuas get kind of a nasty reputation as they will predate on young penguins. The skua, as the apex land predator, particularly for penguins, plays a critical role in ensuring that the population stay in check. And also with the high mortality of both eggs as well as chicks, sometimes as high as 60 to 70%, the skuas play an important role of keeping the environment clean. On this trip to Bongrain Point, one of the other guests actually got a video of 2 skuas teaming up to dispatch a Adélie penguin chick. So it's brutal, as life can be. However, you have to remember that the skuas have chicks to feed too. So the Adélie penguin chicks at this location are probably right around 3 to 4 weeks old. Now, Adélies, by the time they're 7 to 9 weeks old, will actually develop their seaworthy feathers, and they'll head out to sea, not to return until they're somewhere between 3 and 5 years old and ready to breed. And walking the beach at Bongrain, we not only saw celebrations, but we also saw the reality of nature. This mummified fur seal and the remains of a seabird. It's not always cuteness. French explorer Jules Dumont d'Urville named the Adélie penguin after his wife Adele. And they are the smallest species of penguins to call Antarctica home. And they are also only one of 2 species who are only found in the Antarctic, along with the emperor penguin. These birds sure have a lot of personality. Some can't wait to get home, and others, yeah, I get it, dude. So we had a few more minutes to wander the beach, take a look at some of the ice that had been pushed up against the shoreline before we had to get back to the venture. Oh well, at least we had a nice party to send us off. What a great morning. But it was time to refuel, and it was German Day at the Colonnade, so I ordered a little Spätzle with some grilled fish. And it's Seabourn, so what they don't want to do is actually give you 2 different entrees on the same plate. So you have to kind of combine it yourself. We made the short move over to Lagoon Island. The submarines were getting ready, so we knew it was going to be very shortly our time to hop on the Zodiac.
Okay, everybody, we're going in for a Zodiac cruise day at Lagoon Island here in Antarctica. It's our second stop of the day on day 2 of our Seabourn Antarctic adventure. So stay tuned, see what we find.
And we learned that wonderful British "thank you" was our signal to head on downstairs and meet up with our Zodiac and tour driver, Bartosz. Now, Seabourn Venture has 2 types of Zodiacs on board. The smaller Zodiacs, which are meant for landings, usually hold about 8 guests as we head ashore, either for a wet landing or to pull up close to the rocks where we can get off of the Zodiac and onto land. The touring Zodiacs are center console driven so that the driver and guide can be heard by all guests and hold 10 to 12 guests for any given expedition.
Have a look, just behind you.
Oh, okay. The blue building?
Yeah, the blue buildings over there, yeah?
The blue buildings that Bartosz was talking about is actually the Rothera Research Station, and there's actually an airfield there as well. This station is an active part of the British Antarctic Survey. And during our Zodiac tour of the nearby bay, we'll see the hut, which is their quote-unquote honeymoon shack or vacation hut.
No, also including us, yeah?
Good for us, high in protein.
Yeah?
Yes.
They may be, the males maybe even 4 tons. They are very like
4
big
tons?
bugs. Yeah. These are smaller. These are probably like 1.5 to 2 tons, guys. Much distance here, like normally.
So the 4-ton animal that Bartosz was describing, and which is right in front of us on the beach, is the southern elephant seal. Now, the southern elephant seal is the largest marine mammal that is not a whale. And these are little guys, as he said. They're maybe 1.5 tons, and we'll see another one that's down near the honeymoon shack that's right around 3 tons or 6,000 pounds. And these are just absolutely amazing creatures.
Most of these guys have never sex in their life. Because they can't afford to remove the alpha male from the beach. So only.
So yeah, you can see where they'd be a little cranky or sad, but at least they have friends. Southern elephant seals can dive more than 1.5 miles deep looking for food and can hold their breath anywhere from 90 minutes to 2 hours as they hunt for squid, mollusks, they eat krill, even a little bit of algae. The largest breeding colony for southern elephant seals is in South Georgia Island, and there are a few others. But this is not one of those breeding colonies. This is a bachelor community. Now, some of these elephant seals might end up being large enough to become a beach master and fight for a harem of up to 40 females on their own, but they're not there yet. Here's a little kelp gull that found some success in hunting.
Look at that.
Yeah, Capital is eating French fries.
You got a little crab, something.
Yeah, maybe krill.
As we continue to motor down this little bay, we found one of those southern elephant seal bachelors that might just someday be a beach master himself. We were really fortunate to have Bartosz Strozynski as our driver today. He has tremendous passion for Antarctica. He has a tremendous passion for seals, and he'll tell us a little bit about his love leopard seal. And as a diver, a photographer, a musician, an artist, and an explorer, he has an amazing connection to and conviction for Antarctica.
These are the most numerous seals in Antarctica, so in this period it's high probability we will see them. Sorry, we can see also fewer seals.
Ooh,
So we'll see 5 of them, yeah?
beautiful.
But usually seals are staying at the edge of the ice. So when the ice is like melting during the summertime, they are coming closer to this area. So the best period for seals actually is February. I love leopard seals. They are in February most active, and they give their show usually that time. So when I'm coming for filming, photographing them underwater, I usually come in February time. In Poland I have Polish whites. In Antarctica I have leopard seals. And I share half a year with one and half a year with one. It's just a joke, but in fact they are so important for me in my life. They changed my life, and you will understand why during my lecture. Everything will change on the planet, you know.
So we're on the move again as we tour Lagoon Island via Zodiac. And this time we're headed over to a rocky outcrop in order to see a colony of blue-eyed shags. Or are those Antarctic shags? Or are those imperial shags? No, those are Antarctic cormorants. Well, anyway, whatever we call them, and there is some debate among the birding experts of what the appropriate name is and whether they are a single species or as many as a dozen species. All we know is that most tourists call them flying penguins.
Try to find them. You can see them here in the first just at the edge.
They're all brown, yeah.
So the blue-eyed shags are one of the few birds, if not the only bird in Antarctica, that actually maintains a nest year-round if the icy conditions will allow them to do so. And they build up these almost mini volcanoes of, well, whatever they can find, floating debris, seaweed, mix it with excrement, and voila, almost like a concrete buildup for that nest. And anything that's not actually stuck in the mud, so to speak, will be quickly stolen by one of their neighbors. This breeding colony seemed to be doing very well, with at least 2 chicks per nest. These blue-eyed shags will lay anywhere from 3 to 5 eggs each breeding season. Unlike other species of cormorants, the blue-eyed shag has a very thick undercoating of downy feathers, which gives them a waterproofing so they don't have to stand drying, as you might have seen most cormorants around the world do after feeding. So the name blue-eyed shag comes from a brilliant ring of blue feathers around the bird's eyeballs. I couldn't get the right distance or light with my camera and lens, but luckily we had photographer Max on board the Venture, and he snapped this gorgeous shot. And blue-eyed shags normally hunt at 25 meters down or less. They can dive down to 60 meters as needed in order to capture tasty fish, and can hold their breath for about 4 minutes at a time. All in all, a fascinating and beautiful bird. But now it's time to turn our attention to the small icebergs that filled the lagoon. This afternoon turned into an absolutely gorgeous day, with waters really flat and glassy, and it was the perfect opportunity to go meet with some of those juvenile penguins that we had talked about that leave for 3 to 5 years before coming back to colonies to breed.
We need to get out of here because these icebergs may break and we are in trouble.
So aside from making really cool pictures of the juvenile penguins camping out and hanging with their friends on the dimples on these icebergs, the dimples are an indication that this part of the iceberg was once underwater. So it might have been the bottom or might have been the side of the iceberg, as are the deep ridges that are along some of these spectacular looking pieces of ice. And as Bartosz told us, this can make the icebergs unstable. They can crack, break, or maybe even be an indicator that they are potentially going to flip on us. So we always had to be aware of the status of these icebergs as we got close. And we had to be prepared to hold on and sit down quickly at a moment's notice. With our next move to another set of icebergs, we're on the lookout for seals. And it's a good time for me to shut up and let you enjoy about 90 seconds of cruising in Antarctica.
Like the bird. No, these are others, of course, juvenile.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I see.
Can I make one picture as well? Why he's here? Yeah, this is not the easiest place, but you can get from distance. From this, I can't go deeper. This lagoon, because they are resting, because they feed during the night. Yeah. So most of the time you will see them like this, like resting, and yeah, you may think they just eat, sleep, and shit. Yeah. Sorry. Brownish, reddish, you know, very different. And they're the water. You wait for them, and they come or not. These guys usually don't come, except very special situations which you can watch in.
So these are Crabeater seals, and Crabeater seals, as explained in an earlier video, are the most abundant seal on Earth. And there's widely ranging estimates depending on who you read and which research you look at. So it's anywhere from 7 to 75 million individuals may be in existence. So somewhere probably around the 15 to 20 million is correct, which also makes them one of the most populous large mammals on the face of the Earth. Now we'll see a lot of scars on Crabeater seals, and that's due to two facts. One is just minor territorial disputes on the ice, which is kind of the small nicks and cuts which we saw on just about every crab eater we came across. And then there's larger scars because when these individuals are young, there's some significant predation by the leopard seal as well as some orcas. Crab eater is a bit of a misnomer. In reality, these are krill eater seals for the most part, and they have a very unique jaw and tooth structure, which actually allows the animal to take large gulps or bites in its mouth of krill, and then by pushing their tongue upward in their mouth, they squeeze out all the seawater between these ridges or interlocking holes in their teeth. It's just a fascinating and specialized adaptation. Well, they say all great things must end, and it's been a great Zodiac tour thanks to Bartosz and, of course, the wildlife of Antarctica. But it's past 5:30 already, and we're going to have a really, really short turnaround before we get back onto the venture, get cleaned up, and head up to the club, because tonight's, again, a sushi night. Although tonight what we're having is a sake samurai martini with our sushi. before heading off to dinner, a little dessert, and then a nightcap up in the Constellation Lounge as we all sit around watching for the sun not to set.
Okay, this is the evening of January 12th. It's 10:30 at night. Antarctica. It's a splendid night.
We'll see you tomorrow in the morning from Crystal Sound. Good night.